Arrival on Earth. The night sky erupted in a brilliant flash as the small spacecraft tore through Earth's atmosphere. Its hull, once sleek and pristine, now bore the scars of a desperate escape across light years. Inside, alarms blared and systems failed as the ship plummeted towards the forested wilderness below. Zara gripped the controls with her four-fingered hands, her iridescent blue skin glistening with sweat. Her large, almond-shaped eyes, filled with determination and fear, darted between the flashing emergency lights and the rapidly approaching ground. "Hold on, Kip," she shouted over the din, glancing back at her son. The young alien child, no more than the equivalent of a human 6-year-old, clung tightly to his seat, his eyes squeezed shut. With a bone-jarring impact, the ship crashed through the canopy of trees, leaving a trail of broken branches and scorched earth in its wake. It skidded to a halt in a small clearing, steam hissing from its ruptured cooling systems. For a moment, all was silent. Then, with a groan of protesting metal, the ship's hatch slowly opened. Zara emerged, cradling Kip in her arms. She surveyed their surroundings with a mix of wonder and apprehension. The forest was unlike anything on their home world, lush, green, and teeming with unfamiliar life. The air was thick with the scent of pine and damp earth. "Mama, are we safe now?" Kip whispered, his small form trembling against her. Zara stroked his head, her fingers running through the fine, feather-like strands that served as hair for their species. "I hope so, little one. We're far from the Drektar now. This is the planet called Earth." As if on cue, a rustling in the nearby bushes caused Zara to freeze. She instinctively pulled Kip closer, her eyes scanning for potential threats. Their escape from their dying world had been harrowing, and the journey fraught with danger. She wasn't about to let her guard down now. From the undergrowth emerged a figure Zara recognized from the limited information they had gathered about Earth. A human. He was tall, with sun-bronzed skin, and a look of utter astonishment on his face. He wore a uniform of some kind, with a patch on the sleeve that read Forest Ranger. The human, a male, Zara guessed, stood stock still, his mouth agape as he took in the sight before him. His eyes darted from Zara and Kip to the smoking wreckage of their ship. "Holy, what in the world?" the man finally managed to say, his voice a mixture of awe and disbelief. Zara tensed, ready to flee if necessary. She had no idea how humans would react to their presence. Would they be hostile, curious, afraid? The man seemed to sense her unease. He slowly raised his hands, palms outward, in what Zara hoped was a universal gesture of peace. "It's okay," he said softly. "I'm not going to hurt you. My name's Jack. Jack Hawkins. I'm a forest ranger. Are you all right?" Zara hesitated, then nodded slowly. She had learned some English during their journey, anticipating the need to communicate if they reached Earth. Not hurt badly. Ship damage. Need help." Jack's eyebrows shot up at hearing her speak. He took a cautious step forward, then stopped when he saw Zara flinch. "You can understand me. That's incredible. Look, I don't know what's going on here, but you look like you need help. There's my cabin not far from here. It's safe, and I have first aid supplies." Kip tugged at Zara's sleeve. "Mama, what's he saying? Can we trust him?" Zara looked down at her son, then back at Jack. The human's face showed concern, and despite her fears, Zara sensed no immediate threat from him. They were stranded on an alien world with a damaged ship and no resources. What choice did they have? "Accept help," Zara said cautiously. "But please, no tell others. Not safe for us." Jack nodded slowly, his mind clearly racing to process the situation. "Okay, I won't tell anyone. Not yet, anyway. But you've got to know, a ship crashing in the forest isn't exactly something that goes unnoticed. We need to move quickly." As if to emphasize his point, the distant sound of sirens could be heard, growing steadily louder. Jack's eyes widened. "That'll be the fire department. Someone must have seen your ship coming down. We got to go. Now." Zara hesitated for only a moment before making her decision. She set Kip down and knelt before him. "Kip, we must go with this human. It's not safe to stay here. Can you be brave for me?" Kip nodded, his large eyes filled with a mix of fear and excitement. "I'll be brave, Mama." Jack approached slowly, still keeping his hands visible. "I got a vehicle nearby. We can use that to get to my cabin faster. Do you need help carrying anything?" Zara shook her head. "No time. Must leave now." She turned back to their ship, her heart heavy. Everything they had brought from their homeworld was in there, but there was no time to retrieve it. Their safety had to come first. As they followed Jack through the dense forest, the sound of sirens grew louder. Zara could see flashing lights in the distance, and the thrum of helicopter blades filled the air. Her hearts, for her species had two, raced with fear and anticipation. They reached Jack's vehicle, a rugged jeep designed for forest terrain. Jack helped Zara and Kip into the back, draping a tarp over them. "Stay down and stay quiet," he instructed. "It's not far to the cabin, but we might pass some other vehicles on the way." As Jack started the engine and began to drive, Zara held Kip close. She thought of their home world, now lost to them forever. She thought of the dangers they had faced to reach this planet and the uncertainties that still lay ahead. But as she felt the warmth of her son in her arms and saw the determined set of Jack's jaw in the rearview mirror, she allowed herself to feel something she hadn't felt in a long time: hope. Their journey on Earth was just beginning, and Zara had no idea what challenges they would face. But in this moment, as they sped through the dark forest towards an uncertain future, she was grateful for the unexpected kindness of this human stranger. Perhaps, just perhaps, they had found the refuge they so desperately sought. As the jeep bounced along the forest road, leaving behind the crash site and the approaching authorities, Zara whispered a quiet prayer to the stars above. "Guide us, spirits of our ancestors. Help us find our place in this new world." And with that, they disappeared into the night, two alien refugees and their human protector, embarking on an adventure that would change not just their lives, but potentially the course of human history. Hiding and healing. The old cabin creaked softly in the pre-dawn breeze, its weathered walls a silent sentinel in the heart of the forest. Inside, an unlikely trio sat in tense silence around a worn wooden table. Jack Hawkins, forest ranger and now reluctant conspirator, ran a hand through his disheveled hair, his eyes darting between his alien guests and the window. Zara sat perfectly still, her iridescent blue skin shimmering softly in the warm glow of the cabin's oil lamps. Her large, almond-shaped eyes never left Jack's face, studying him with a mixture of wariness and gratitude. Beside her, young Kip fidgeted in his chair, his childlike curiosity battling with his ingrained caution. "Okay," Jack finally broke the silence, his voice low and measured. "I think we're safe for now. I didn't see anyone following us, and this cabin isn't on any official maps. But we need to figure out our next move." Zara nodded slowly, her translator implant working to process Jack's words. "Thank you, Jack Hawkins. Your kindness, unexpected. Risky for you." Jack let out a small, nervous laugh. "Yeah, well, hiding aliens wasn't exactly how I planned to spend my week, but I couldn't just leave you out there." He paused, his expression growing serious. "Can you tell me more about why you're here? Where you came from?" Zara's gaze dropped to the table, her slender fingers tracing invisible patterns on the worn wood. When she spoke, her voice was heavy with sorrow. "Our world, dying. War, then plague. Many dead. Kip and I. Last of our family. Maybe last of our kind." Kip, sensing his mother's distress, pressed closer to her. Zara wrapped an arm around him, drawing comfort from his presence. "We heard of Earth," she continued. "Stories of human kindness, resilience. Thought maybe. Safe haven. But journey dangerous. Pursued by Drektar, those who caused our world's fall. Barely escaped. Jack leaned back in his chair, his mind reeling from the implications of Zora's words. Aliens, interstellar war, refugees seeking sanctuary on Earth. It was almost too much to process. But as he looked at Zora and Kip, he didn't see fearsome extraterrestrials. He saw a mother and child, scared and alone in a strange world. "I'm so sorry," Jack said softly. "I can't even imagine what you've been through. But you're safe here, at least for now. We'll figure something out." Kip, who had been quiet until now, suddenly perked up. "Mr. Jack, your world is so strange. The trees, the air, it's all so different. Do you have cities like ours? Flying vehicles? Oh, and what's that noise outside?" Jack couldn't help but smile at the child's enthusiasm. "That's a bird, Kip. A robin, I think. They sing in the morning." Kip's eyes widened with wonder. Singing flying creatures. Amazing. As Kip's excitement momentarily lightened the mood, Jack's Ranger radio crackled to life, causing all three to jump. "Attention all units," a voice announced through static. "We have reports of an unidentified object crash landing in Sector 7 of Whispering Pines National Forest. All available personnel are to report to base camp for briefing. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill." Jack quickly turned down the volume, his face grim. "They're mobilizing a search. It won't be long before they start combing these woods." Zora's grip on Kip tightened. "What we do? Cannot let them find us. Not know if humans ready for us." Jack stood up, pacing the small cabin as he thought. "Okay, we need a plan. First things first, you two need rest and medical attention. Zora, you're limping, and Kip's got some nasty scratches from the crash." He moved to a cabinet, pulling out a well-stocked first aid kit. "I'm no doctor, but I've had wilderness first aid training. Let me take a look at those injuries." As Jack tended to their wounds, applying antiseptic and bandages, he couldn't help but marvel at the aliens' physiology. Their blood was a deep purple, and their skin seemed to have slight bioluminescent properties. Despite the differences, the basics of first aid seemed to apply. "Your medicine. Stings," Kip said, wincing as Jack cleaned a cut on his arm. "But feels better after." "Thank you, Mr. Jack." Jack ruffled Kip's feather-like hair, earning a small giggle from the alien child. "You're welcome, buddy. You're being very brave." As he worked, Jack's mind raced with possibilities and potential dangers. The authorities would be searching the woods, and it wouldn't be long before they expanded their search to include local cabins and homes. They needed a more permanent solution. "Zora," Jack said as he finished bandaging her ankle, "I have a friend in the city. Sarah. She's a scientist, specializes in biology. I think we might need her help." Zora's expression tightened with concern. "More humans? No. Dangerous." Jack nodded. "I know it's risky, but Sarah's brilliant and open-minded. She might be able to help us understand your physiology better, in case you need more medical help. And she has connections that might be useful if we need to. I don't know, get you asylum or something." He ran a hand through his hair again, a nervous habit. "Plus, we can't stay here forever. The Forest Service will eventually come knocking, asking why I haven't reported in. Sarah has a place in the city where you might be able to hide more easily." Zora was quiet for a long moment, her large eyes searching Jack's face. Finally, she nodded. "We trust you, Jack Hawkins. If you trust this Sarah, we will meet her." Jack let out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. Okay, good. I'll give her a call, but not from here. There's a payphone in town I can use. It'll be safer that way." He stood, grabbing his jacket. "I need to head into town for supplies anyway. Food, clothes for you too. Can't have you walking around in those spacesuits. You'll be safe here while I'm gone. Just stay inside, keep the curtains drawn, and don't answer the door for anyone." As Jack prepared to leave, Kip tugged at his sleeve. "Mr. Jack, will you bring back more of those sweet things? the round ones in the shiny wrapper. Jack chuckled, remembering how Kip's eyes had lit up when he'd given him a cookie earlier. "Sure thing, buddy. I'll bring back plenty of cookies." With a final reassuring smile to Zara and Kip, Jack stepped out of the cabin and into the crisp morning air. As he walked to his Jeep, he couldn't help but marvel at the turn his life had taken in just a few short hours. He was now responsible for the safety of 2 alien refugees, hiding them from his own government, and about to drag his best friend into an interstellar conspiracy. Part of him wanted to laugh at the absurdity of it all. But as he started the engine and began the drive into town, Jack felt a steely resolve settle over him. These aliens, no, Zara and Kip, needed his help, and come hell or high water, he was going to do everything in his power to keep them safe. As he drove, the forest alive with the sounds of birds and the rustling of leaves, Jack Hawkins made a silent vow to the universe. Humanity might not officially know about alien life yet, but if he had anything to say about it, Earth was going to live up to those stories of kindness and resilience that had brought Zara and Kip across the stars. The road ahead would be difficult, full of dangers and hard choices, but in this moment, Jack felt ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Little did he know, the decisions made in the coming days would not only change his life forever, but potentially alter the course of human history. The clock was ticking. The authorities were closing in, and the fate of 2 worlds now rested on the shoulders of a forest ranger, a desperate alien mother, and the small group of humans who would soon join their cause. As Jack's Jeep disappeared down the winding forest road, the morning sun crested over the trees, casting long shadows across the land. A new day was dawning, for Earth, for humanity, and for the unlikely family forming in a hidden cabin in the heart of the wilderness. Discovery and danger. The bustling streets of Millbrook, a small city nestled at the edge of Whispering Pines National Forest, hummed with an undercurrent of excitement and tension. News of the mysterious crash in the forest had spread like wildfire, and speculation ran rampant. UFO enthusiasts mingled with skeptics on street corners, while black SUVs with government plates prowled the roads, adding fuel to the growing conspiracies. In the midst of this charged atmosphere, Jack Hawkins pushed through the crowd, his arms laden with shopping bags. He'd spent the morning gathering supplies, clothes, food, and other necessities for his alien guests. As he walked, he couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, his nerves frayed from the constant fear of discovery. Reaching a secluded alley, Jack ducked inside and approached an old payphone. With shaking hands, he dialed a number he knew by heart. "Sarah, it's Jack. I need your help. It's big. Can you meet me at the old miller's barn in an hour? And Sarah, come alone, please." An hour later, Jack's Jeep pulled up to a dilapidated barn on the outskirts of town. Sarah Chen, a petite woman with keen eyes and an air of perpetual curiosity, was already waiting. As Jack stepped out of the vehicle, Sarah rushed to meet him. "Jack, what's going on? You sounded terrified on the phone. Is this about the crash?" Sarah's eyes widened as she took in Jack's haggard appearance. Jack took a deep breath. "Sarah, what I'm about to tell you, it's going to change everything. But I need to know I can trust you. Completely." Sarah placed a hand on Jack's arm, her expression serious. "Jack, we've been friends since college. You can trust me with anything." And so, in the shadow of the old barn, Jack told Sarah everything. About Zara and Kip, their crash, their story of a dying world, and a desperate journey across the stars. As he spoke, Sarah's expression shifted from disbelief to wonder to determination. "My God, Jack," she whispered when he finished. This is incredible. Terrifying, yes, but incredible. Of course I'll help. But we need to be smart about this. The whole town's crawling with government agents." Jack nodded, relief washing over him. "I knew I could count on you. We need to move them somewhere safer. My cabin's too exposed." Sarah thought for a moment. "I have a basement apartment in my building. It's private, secluded. We could move them there tonight." As they finalized their plans, neither noticed the dark Sidon parked just down the road, its tinted windows concealing the man inside who watched their meeting with great interest. Back at the cabin, Zara paced nervously, her eyes constantly darting to the windows. Kip sat on the floor, surrounded by Earth objects he found fascinating. A compass, a flashlight, a book of local flora and fauna. "Mama," Kip called, holding up the book. "Look at all these creatures. Some are so similar to ours, but others, I've never seen anything like them." Zara managed a small smile, warmed by her son's endless curiosity, even in the face of their precarious situation. "That's wonderful, Kip. Perhaps when it's safer, we can see some of them in person." Just then, the sound of a vehicle approaching sent Zara into high alert. She quickly ushered Kip into a hidden alcove Jack had shown them, her heart racing. But her fear turned to relief when she heard Jack's familiar voice calling out, "Zara? Kip, it's me. I've brought a friend." Zara opened the door, her eyes immediately locking onto the unfamiliar human woman standing beside Jack. Sarah, for her part, couldn't hide her awe at the sight of the alien before her. "Hello," Sarah said softly, raising her hand in greeting. "I'm Sarah. Jack told me about you. I'm here to help." Over the next hour, as they prepared for the move to Sarah's apartment, an unlikely bond began to form. Sarah's scientific curiosity was tempered by genuine compassion, and Zara found herself opening up about her world, her people's technology, and the catastrophe that had driven them from their home. As night fell, they began the tense journey into town. Zara and Kip, now dressed in Earth clothes, huddled in the back of Jack's Jeep, hidden under blankets. The streets were eerily quiet, the usual nightlife subdued by the heightened government presence. They were just a block from Sarah's apartment when disaster struck. A police roadblock loomed ahead, officers checking every vehicle. "Dan," Jack muttered, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. "Sarah, what do we do?" Sarah's mind raced. "Turn left here. We'll go through the alley behind Manny's diner. It'll be tight, but we can make it." As Jack maneuvered the Jeep down the narrow alley, the sound of sirens filled the air. A police cruiser had spotted them and was in pursuit. "Hold on," Jack shouted, flooring the accelerator. The Jeep burst out of the alley onto a main street, narrowly missing a delivery truck. What followed was a heart-pounding chase through the streets of Millbrook. Jack's skills as a forest ranger came in handy as he navigated the urban terrain, but their pursuers were relentless. "There," Sarah pointed to an abandoned warehouse. "We can lose them in there." Jack swerved, crashing through a chain-link fence and into the warehouse's loading bay. They abandoned the Jeep, Sarah leading them through a maze of old machinery and crates. Behind them, they could hear the shouts of their pursuers. "This way," Sarah whispered, guiding them to a rusted door. "There's a network of old tunnels under the city. We can use them to get to my apartment." As they descended into the darkness of the tunnels, the sounds of pursuit faded, but the danger was far from over. Unknown to them, their escape had been observed by multiple parties, some human, some not. In a sleek black SUV parked near the warehouse, a stern-faced woman spoke into a secure phone line. "Ma'am, we've confirmed the presence of extraterrestrial entities, but there's a complication. Civilians are aiding them." And high above the earth, hidden from human detection, a Drektar scout ship received a transmission. "Command, we've located the fugitives. Shall we proceed with extraction?" As Zara, Kip, Jack, and Sarah made their way through the dank tunnels beneath Millbrook, the stakes of their adventure were escalating far beyond what any of them could have imagined. The fate of not just two aliens, but potentially two worlds, now hung in the balance. The question was no longer just about keeping Zara and Kip safe. It was about what would happen when humanity at large discovered it was not alone in the universe. And more pressingly, what would happen when the forces that had destroyed Zora's world turned their attention to Earth? In the darkness of the tunnel, Kit's small hand found Zora's. "Mama," he whispered, "are we going to be okay?" Zara squeezed her son's hand, wishing she could promise him safety. "We must be brave, little one. We have found friends here. Perhaps that will be enough." As they pressed on, the echoes of their footsteps mingling with the distant sounds of the city above, none of them could shake the feeling that this was only the beginning of a much larger story, one that would challenge their courage, their beliefs, and their understanding of the universe itself. Escape and allies. The old tunnels beneath Millbrook echoed with the sound of hurried footsteps and labored breathing. Jack, Sarah, Zara, and Kip pushed forward through the dank darkness, guided only by the weak beam of Jack's flashlight. The air was thick with the musty scent of decades-old decay and the ever-present fear of discovery. "We're almost there," Sarah whispered, her voice barely audible over the distant rumble of the city above. "There's an access point to my building's basement just ahead." As they rounded a corner, a sudden noise behind them caused the group to freeze. The unmistakable sound of voices and shuffling feet echoed through the tunnel. "They followed us down here," Jack hissed, his eyes wide with alarm. Zara pulled Kip close, her alien features contorted with worry. "What now? We cannot fight." Sarah's mind raced, her scientific training kicking into high gear. "Wait," she said, her eyes lighting up with an idea. "Zara, you said your people have bioluminescent properties, right?" Zara nodded, unsure where Sarah was going with this. "Can you control it? Make it brighter?" Sarah asked urgently. Understanding dawned on Zara's face. "Yes, but—" "Do it," Sarah insisted. "Trust me." As the sound of their pursuers grew closer, Zara closed her eyes in concentration. Slowly, her blue skin began to glow, the bioluminescence growing brighter and brighter until she and Kip were like living beacons in the darkness. "Now," Sarah commanded, "run towards them." Without hesitation, the group charged forward, Zara and Kip leading the way. As they rounded the corner, they came face to face with a group of stunned government agents. The sudden appearance of two brightly glowing, clearly alien beings rushing towards them sent the agents into a panic. Shouts of alarm and confusion filled the tunnel as the agents stumbled back, momentarily blinded by the intense light. Taking advantage of the chaos, Jack and Sarah guided Zara and Kip past the disoriented agents and down a side passage. Behind them, they could hear the sounds of the agents regrouping, but the head start was all they needed. Minutes later, breathless and hearts pounding, they emerged into the basement of Sarah's apartment building. Sarah quickly ushered them into a service elevator, pressing the button for her floor. As the elevator hummed to life, Jack let out a nervous laugh. That was incredible. Quick thinking, Sarah. Sarah smiled, the adrenaline still coursing through her veins. Sometimes the best defense is a good offense, or in this case, a good light show. Zara's glow had dimmed, but her eyes shone with gratitude. "Your cleverness saved us." "Thank you, Sarah." The elevator doors opened, and Sarah led them quickly to her apartment. Once inside, she engaged multiple locks and activated a sophisticated security system. "We should be safe here, at least for now," Sarah said, drawing the curtains closed. "This place has some special modifications. It's shielded against most forms of surveillance." Jack raised an eyebrow. "Sarah, what exactly have you been working on all these years?" Sarah's expression turned serious. "Let's just say you're not the only one who's suspected we might not be alone in the universe. But that's a story for another time. Right now, we need to focus on keeping Zara and Kip safe and figuring out our next move." As the group settled into Sarah's living room, the reality of their situation began to sink in. They were now fugitives, hiding not just from Earth authorities, but potentially from an alien threat as well. Kip, exhausted from the night's events, had curled up on the couch and fallen asleep. Zara gently stroked his head, her eyes filled with a mix of love and worry. "I never meant to bring such danger to your world," Zara said softly. "Perhaps it would have been better if we had never come." Jack shook his head firmly. No, Zara. You and Kip needed help. And Earth. Well, maybe Earth needed a wake-up call. We can't keep pretending we're alone in the universe. Sarah nodded in agreement. Jack's right. And now that we know about the Drektar, we have a chance to prepare, to protect ourselves. A knock at the door silenced them all. Sarah moved cautiously to a hidden panel near the entrance, activating a concealed camera. Her eyes widened in surprise. It's Dr. Emerson, she whispered. My mentor from the university. Jack tensed. Can we trust him? Sarah hesitated for a moment, then nodded. If there's anyone who can help us navigate this situation, it's him. She opened the door to reveal an older man with kind eyes and a disheveled appearance that spoke of a hasty journey. Dr. Emerson stepped inside, his gaze immediately locking onto Zara and the sleeping Kip. My word, he breathed, his voice filled with wonder. It's true then. Sarah, when I got your message, I hardly dared to believe. As Sarah made introductions, Dr. Emerson's initial awe gave way to focused determination. We don't have much time, he said, his tone grave. The government's mobilizing resources I didn't even know existed. And there's something else, something in orbit. The room fell silent as the implications of his words sank in. The Drektar had followed Zara and Kip to Earth. Dr. Emerson continued, but we're not without resources of our own. There's a network, a group of scientists, officials, and others who've been preparing for this moment. We call ourselves the Stargazers. He turned to Zara, his expression softening. We want to help you, to learn from you. And in turn, we hope you can help us prepare for what's coming. Zara looked around the room, at these humans who had risked everything to help her and her son. She thought of her lost world, of the devastation wrought by the Drektar, and of the potential she saw in humanity. I will help, she said firmly, for Kip's future and for your worlds. As the first light of dawn began to peek through the curtains, the unlikely group of humans and aliens began to plan. They faced challenges that seemed insurmountable, evading Earth's authorities, preparing for a potential alien invasion, and somehow finding a way for Zara and Kip to live safely on this new world. But as Jack looked around the room, at Sarah's brilliant mind already racing with ideas, at Dr. Emerson's wealth of hidden knowledge, at Zara's determination, and the innocence of the sleeping Kip, he felt a surge of hope. This was humanity's moment, a chance to prove that the stories of kindness and resilience that had drawn Zara across the stars were true. It wouldn't be easy, but then again, nothing worth doing ever was. As they talked and planned, none of them noticed the small drone hovering outside the window, its camera focused intently on the scene inside. In a hidden facility miles away, a group of shadowy figures watched the feed with great interest. Sir, one of them said, I think we found our aliens, and it seems they've made some friends. The leader of the group leaned forward, his eyes glinting with a mix of curiosity and calculation. Well then, he said softly, let's go introduce ourselves, shall we? The stage was set for a confrontation that would shape the future of not just Zara and Kip, but of Earth itself. The question remained, in the face of cosmic threats and earthly fears, would humanity rise to the challenge? The answer would soon unfold in the streets of Millbrook and beyond. Stand and unite. The sun had barely risen over Millbrook when the first explosions rocked the city. In the pre-dawn light, strange craft descended from the sky, their sleek, dark forms a stark contrast to the quaint buildings below. The Drektar had arrived. In Sarah's apartment, the small group of humans and aliens jolted awake to the sounds of chaos. Dr. Emerson rushed to the window, his face pale. It's happening. They're here. Zara clutched Kip close, her eyes wide with fear and guilt. This is our fault. We led them here. Jack placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. No, Zara. You warned us. Now we have a chance to fight back. As if on cue, Sarah's encrypted communication device buzzed to life. The voice of a Stargazer operative filled the room. Dr. Chen, We're mobilizing. The Drektar are attacking major cities worldwide. We need you and the aliens at the rendezvous point immediately." Sarah nodded grimly. "Understood. We're on our way." What followed was a frantic rush through the chaos-filled streets of Millbrook. Jack, drawing on his ranger skills, led the group through back alleys and lesser-known paths. All around them, the sounds of battle echoed, the whine of Drektar energy weapons mixed with the staccato of human gunfire. As they rounded a corner, they came face to face with a Drektar scout team. The aliens were tall, their bodies covered in sleek insectoid armor. Their mandibles clicked in anticipation as they raised their weapons. But before they could fire, a barrage of gunfire erupted from behind Jack and his group. A team of black-clad operatives emerged from the shadows, led by a stern-faced woman Jack recognized from news reports. General Laura Keegan, head of Earth's newly formed extraterrestrial defense force. "Dr. Chen, Dr. Emerson," Keegan nodded curtly. "Glad to see the stargazers made good on their intel. And these must be our guests." Zara stepped forward, her chin held high despite her fear. "I am Zara, and this is my son, Kip. We seek asylum and offer our help against the Drektar." Keegan's eyes narrowed, assessing the alien before her. After a tense moment, she nodded. "We'll take all the help we can get. Come with us. We're heading to command." As they raced through the war-torn streets in armored vehicles, Keegan briefed them on the situation. The Drektar attack was global, but humanity wasn't as defenseless as they'd feared. Years of secret preparations, inspired by groups like the Stargazers, had resulted in weapons and shields that could at least hold their own against alien technology. They arrived at a hidden bunker beneath Millbrook's old courthouse. Inside was a hive of activity. Military personnel, scientists, and government officials, all working frantically to coordinate Earth's defense. Dr. Emerson and Sarah were immediately whisked away to join a team of scientists working on adapting human technology to combat the Drektar. Jack found himself recruited into a tactical unit, his knowledge of the local terrain proving invaluable. Zara, with Kip always close, became the linchpin of Earth's strategy. Her knowledge of Drektar tactics and technology proved crucial in formulating a defense. As the battle raged above, Zara worked tirelessly, translating Drektar communications, identifying weaknesses in their armor and ships. Kip, too, played his part, his childlike perspective sometimes providing insights the adults had missed. Hours turned into days. The Drektar assault was relentless, but humanity's resistance was fierce. Stories of heroism poured in from around the globe. Ordinary people standing up to alien invaders, scientists making breakthrough after breakthrough, soldiers fighting with unparalleled courage. On the 5th day of the invasion, Zara made a critical discovery. "Their mothership," she exclaimed, pointing to a schematic. "It's not just a command center. It's a world engine." Dr. Emerson's eyes widened in realization. "Like the one that destroyed your world." Zara nodded grimly. "If we can disable it, we might have a chance to end this." The plan that formed was audacious, bordering on insane. A small team would need to infiltrate the Drektar mothership and sabotage the world engine from within. The risk was enormous, but the alternative was Earth's destruction. To everyone's surprise, it was Kip who provided the key. "The vents," he said, pointing to a part of the schematic everyone else had overlooked. "They're like the ones in our old cities. I used to play in them with my friends. They lead right to the core." And so, against all odds, a most unlikely team was formed. Jack with his survival skills, Sarah with her scientific knowledge, General Keegan, hardened soldier with a newfound respect for her alien allies, Zara, driven by the desire to save her new home and prevent Earth from sharing her world's fate, and Kip, small enough to navigate the vents and guide them to the heart of the ship. The mission was perilous. Fighting their way through Drektar defenses, the team infiltrated the mothership. Led by Kip's unerring sense of direction, they navigated the labyrinthine interior. In the final chamber, as they worked to sabotage the world engine, they were discovered. A fierce battle ensued. Jack and Keegan held off waves of Drektar soldiers, while Sarah and Zara raced to complete the sabotage. In the chaos, Kip spotted a flaw in the engine's design, a weakness only a child could exploit. Without hesitation, he squeezed into a small opening, ignoring his mother's cries. Moments later, alarms blared throughout the ship. The world engine was overloading. As the chamber began to collapse around them, Kip emerged, singed but triumphant. The team barely escaped as the mothership began to break apart. From the ground, the people of Earth watched in awe as the massive ship exploded in the atmosphere, raining debris that burned up harmlessly in the sky. With their command structure in chaos, the remaining Drektar forces were quickly overwhelmed. The invasion was over. Earth had won. In the days that followed, the world began to recover and rebuild. But more than buildings were being reconstructed. Humanity's understanding of its place in the universe had fundamentally changed. Zara and Kip, far from being feared, were hailed as heroes. Their story of loss, hope, and courage touched hearts around the globe. They became symbols of a new era, one where Earth stood ready to take its place among the stars. As for Jack, Sarah, and their allies, they found themselves at the forefront of a new initiative. With the knowledge gained from the invasion, Earth began to prepare not just to defend itself, but to reach out to the stars. One evening, as they watched the sunset from the porch of a newly rebuilt cabin in the woods, Jack turned to Zara and Kip. "So," he said with a smile, "think you two might stick around? Earth could use a couple of friendly aliens." Zara looked at Kip, who was excitedly pointing out constellations to Sarah. She felt, for the first time since leaving her doomed world, a sense of home. "Yes," she said softly, "I think we will." As the first stars began to twinkle in the darkening sky, the unlikely family, human and alien alike, sat together, united by their shared experience and the promise of a future filled with endless possibilities. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge and emerged stronger, more united, and ready to embrace its destiny among the stars. The universe, vast and mysterious, awaited, and Earth, with its indomitable spirit and newfound allies, was ready to meet it head-on. The end, or perhaps just the beginning.